So reach. All pigments, again, if they're being manufactured in Europe or being shipped into Europe, they have to be REACH compliant. So in order for a pigment to be REACH compliant, it has to pass a 6-part test. And every 2 years to stay in compliance. And these tests are expensive. You're talking, look at LI. They've got Aqua, Velvet, Loaded, Queen. We got our eyeliner colors, our Forever Lip colors. We got our Areola colors. And you're talking every single pigment and every single formula is sent over to the CTL lab in Germany for this 6-part test every 2 years. And then you get a certificate on that test, whether it passed, with all the results, and whether it passed, whether it failed, and whatnot. And those tests are very, very expensive. There's a fee for every pigment, we submit. So the 6-part test is 1. They test for aromatic amines known to cause cancer. 2, they're testing for carcinogens. 3, they're testing for dyes that are carcinogenic or can mutate. 4, they're testing for heavy metals, and there's 13 heavy metals that they're testing for. Probably the one that most people talk about and are concerned about is nickel. But people don't realize they're also testing for 12 other heavy metals like arsenic and more. You can actually see the list when you go on to like the REACH website or the ECHO website. So, and lately we've had a lot of concerns and questions about nickel. And the reason we've always had questions about it, people have always been concerned about it because it's like 10% of, people have nickel allergies or nickel sensitivities. But lately, we've been inundated with questions. And the reason being is because one of the new laws passed over in Europe is not just newly banned ingredients, but it was also the labels on each pigment bottle. And on each pigment bottle, on the label, it had to say contains nickel. That is now a law in Europe. It has to say it contains nickel, where up until January of this year, Europe did not require that. So now all of a sudden, artists, are seeing this new added verbiage on their pigment bottles, contains nickel, when they have never seen that verbiage before, and it's causing concern. And rightfully so. I'm actually glad it causes concern, right?
Yeah.
That shows that artists are reading their labels and they're showing concern for what's in that bottle of pigment, which, I totally dig. So the thing about nickel is that's one of the heavy metals that is being tested. It's part of the 6-part test. And the EU does not allow high amounts of nickel. The amount allowed, it actually says, is as low as technically possible. That's what manufacturers are giving as far as an amount that's allowed. In some of the other heavy metals, it will say like 0.05 parts per million is allowed. But when it comes to nickel, it actually says as low as technically possible. That's the standard given to PMU pigment manufacturers. So when every test LI has done over the last 25 years or so, when they're testing for nickel, in the results column on LI's testing, it says almost undetectable. That's really good. So that means LI when it comes to nickel and all of the LI pigments, it's testing lower than 1 part per million. Per million. Like 1 part per million. Like 1 ppm. If LI was as high as 1 ppm, that would be allowed. That is a very safe amount to have in a pigment. But LI doesn't even test as high as 1 part per million. They test lower than that.
Wow.
So there's no number to assign to the amount of nickel being detected in an LI pigment. There's no number to assign to it. So the lab puts almost undetectable. That's how pure LI has gotten their pigments. So yeah, and that is quite a feat, you know. And when Darlene, you know, when they talk about it, I mean, you can just hear the pride, like just booming from her. Like that was a huge mission of hers to be one of the purest and cleanest pigments in the world. And, you know, and she's definitely has spent the last 30 years doing that and has accomplished that.
That's amazing.
It is amazing.
Because technically they don't need to.
No,
but they do.
Right.
They choose to.
Right. Exactly, Olivia. Technically, they didn't have to get it lower than 1 part per million. And I can't remember what the limit is where it will end up failing. I know there was one particular tattoo color that tested 12 parts per million, and that failed. So I do know 12 parts per million is too high according to the EU, and it will fail. But I know 1 part per million is acceptable and safe for sure. So so if you use LI pigments, then you can feel 100% confident that there is, you know, I mean, we've got it as low as scientifically possible, and it's super clean and super pure. And the other thing I'll add to that, in the 30 years LI pigments have been out in the market all over the world, we have never, ever, ever had a reported or documented case of a nickel allergy. So we do have a clean track record when it comes to nickel. So, you know, that's good to note too. And another little fun fact is typically there's going to be way more nickel releasing from like cheap jewelry than you'll find even in like that band tattoo color, you know, ink that I just mentioned, that read like 12 parts per million. Yeah. So even like some of these pigments that wouldn't pass testing because they do have higher amounts of nickel, in a lot of this cheap jewelry that we buy, can be up to 20 or 30 times more nickel being released.
Wow.
From that cheap jewelry.
I didn't know that. That's crazy.
Yeah. So that's why you'll see a lot of, you know, which can cause like contact dermatitis. Usually it's mild to moderate. It looks like a rash and, you know, whatnot. But yeah, so I thought that was kind of interesting little tidbit to learn. Yeah. But, you know, but it's always good to, you know, be concerned when a client tells you, like on their intake forms, you know, we should be asking about allergies. And when a client does state they have a nickel allergy, especially if they state they have a severe nickel allergy. Mm-hmm. I mean, even though LI tests, so low, and we've never had a reported case, it is still highly recommended that possibly do a patch test. You know, there's some places we're not allowed to do a patch test, or you can do a patch test, but legally you're not allowed to read it and assess it because we're not a doctor. So you can perform it, but then we're not allowed to look at it and determine whether they had a reaction or not. Only a doctor can do that. But you can do a patch test, or you can tell that client, usually what I'll do is I'll tell that client to talk to their doctor. You know, that in my 20 years 20,000 procedures. I've never had a nickel sensitivity or reaction, but I always want to take each case seriously and, talk to your client, your doctor, and have a discussion there. Because because it's always better to be safe than sorry. That's the way I always move forward when it comes to anything PMU. I'd rather be conservative and I'd rather be safe, right? So, okay, so let's get back to the 5-part test. So we went over, 6-part test: aromatic amines known to cause cancer, carcinogens, dyes that are carcinogenic or can mutate, heavy metals. And again, there's 13 of them that are being identified and tested. Polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons is number 5. And the 6th part of that test is microbiological test of sterility. So they want to make sure that those pigments are sterile. And I think most pigment manufacturers are sterilizing their pigments. LI uses gamma sterilization, of course, lot code and date, everything. So that is the testing. It's a 6-part test. So every time that LI sends a bottle of pigment, it's going through that 6-part test, really extensive, and it can either fail or it can either pass. If any one of those parts of that test fails, then your pigment fails. It's illegal in Europe. You can't sell it. You can't import it. You can't use it. Nothing. You have to reformulate it, resend it until it passes. And that's why I think it's important that artists are using pigment brands that do submit to the testing, because again, I know we mentioned this already, but I think it's important that pigment manufacturers are accountable to someone, right?
Yeah.
Right. And it's EU. EU holds that high standard of safety when it comes to human health regarding pigments. So, yeah, that was a mouthful. Did you understand all that?
A part of it.
I wonder if my listeners understood it.
Well, you explained it really well.
I did?
Yeah.
Hopefully I did.
I just don't know what some of the ingredients are, but I'm sure.
Yeah, well, there's over 4,000.
Yeah.
There's over 4,000 now, because this started years and years and years and years ago, and that's what, ECHA does. ECHA goes out and identifies, these unsafe ingredients that can be harmful to human health, the reproductive system, or can be a high risk for allergic reaction. ECHA is the agency that goes out and identifies these ingredients. They submit these ingredients to, the governing agencies in Europe, REACH, and then I believe they vote and on what ingredients are going to make the ban list, what ingredients are not going to make the ban list. And like I said, in January of just this year, numerous ingredients made the banned list and are now banned from pigments in Europe. So, but if anybody has any questions, I mean, they can certainly write their questions, underneath, and go to our YouTube page, our Tatter-a-fact YouTube page, and they can actually watch this podcast and all our podcasts. And that's also your place to engage with us, engage with me and Olivia and Willow, to write any questions or to comment that, I was having a really good hair day, or you like my shirt. I got on a really fucking cool shirt today. I love my shirt today.
Yeah, I love it too.
Yeah, I know. And so if you go watch my podcast and like us and follow us, and you like my shirt, I'll tell you what brand it is. Because there's lots of cool colors. And yeah, I'm just totally digging my shirt. I keep looking in the monitor. I'm like, oh, that shirt is like so badass. I love it. So, and it fits me so good. So, because I took up golfing. I did.
I can't imagine you golfing.
I know. I'm golfing. Well, it calms me down. And so I needed, and for me, everything's about the outfit, the outfit. And so taking up golfing, yes, it was a way to kind of calm down and, go into kind of like a Zen place and just focus on the game and be outdoors and be with friends, and because you're really playing against yourself. But first and foremost, it was about, I have another whole set of attire, type of clothing attire I get to shop for. And knowing, you know me now, Olivia. Yeah. So, I'm just not going to wear boring polo shirts. I'm going to wear, I need like cool stuff on the golf course. Cause yeah. So anyway, okay, let's get back to pigments. Okay.
Are you a good golfer?
I am not a good golfer. No, I am not a good golfer, but not yet. But I intend to be a good golfer. But I intended to be a good bowler, and I am not. I suck and I think I suck because I grew up in Maine, and on the East Coast, we bowl. It's candlepin bowling, and they're small balls. Yeah, like the size of like a big softball. They're a little bit bigger than like a softball. And your hand like wraps all around them, and they're not heavy, and you can whip them down. And that's what I grew up with. And then I moved out here to Vegas, and I remember the first time I went bowling, I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? I'm like, I gotta put my fingers in these holes, and just my fingers need to hold up this heavy ball. So yeah, so it was a whole new thing for me, and I'm not that good I'm just not that good at it. But I went a couple months ago with some friends, and I think I got in the 90s. Like I think like one particular game I like hit 90, but typically I'm like in the 70s. I'm not that good. And my last golf score last month, I did 18 holes, and I got a 109.
What is that though?
That's not good.
No,
that's not good, Olivia. That's not good. Same golf course.
Wait, out of how many?
Okay. Out of how many? You don't know golf like I don't know golf. But it's like 18 holes. And I got a 109. But on the same golf course, my nephew, who I'm golfing with on Monday, got a 72. So do you see the difference? Yeah. So I suck at golf, but but it's a whole lot of fun. It is fun, and it's frustrating at the same time, because it's look, there's this old saying, like, don't be afraid to suck at something, right? Because you're not good at anything right away. Mm-hmm. And if I was afraid to suck at PMU, which I did in the beginning, I wouldn't be here now. I wouldn't be, as talented as I am. So you got to not be afraid to suck at something, because that's how you discover things and end up, finding things you love to do and things that you're good at. And even though I remain sucky at bowling, I still do it because I have a cocktail. I go with my friends. We laugh. It's engaging. And I can make fun of myself, and it's fun, but golf's a little bit different. So it's not, it's more of a solo sport. It's not like bowling's like a party, and with me and my friends. But golf, all my friends, my nephew, super competitive.
So you're on your own.
They're on my own. They're not very, they're not very forgiving with me. They're out to kick my ass and get the highest scores possible. And so, so. There you go. There you have it. Okay. So that was a nice little break in between.
Yeah.
A
lot of information.
A lot of this information.